Let's talk about a term that we use when we work with our executives here at ExecuNet, which is the executive value story. It might be something someone has heard before. You can think of it as a value proposition, differentiating statement about various things. What does it mean to you, Mark, when we talk about having a compelling executive value story? What does that really look like in today's market?
Yeah, so I'll lead with what it's not. It's not a chronology of all that you've done. What it is here's the unique value I bring. Hiring executives initially don't care about what you've done, what you've accomplished. That's tracks in the snow. They want to know what's the unique value you bring today and being really crystal clear and compelling about that. What are the types of important things that you offer? And this is, often hard to do for oneself. I was working recently with an HR executive, a chief human resource officer, and one of the things that she was expert in was coming in the midst of an organization that was just acquired or was in transformation. And what she does, and what her value is, that she helps engage employees so then the company can optimize their performance. That was unique part of her brand and the value she brings. So being very crystal clear, here's what I do, here's the points of importance I can help, here's the problems I solve, not all that I've done. And it's got to be crisp and compelling. If I talk to one more seasoned, proven executive, I wonder, seasoned, do they taste good or what? What does that mean? Results oriented. I mean, I would have talked to an executive who's not results oriented because they'd stand out. But doing it in a way that really engages and intrigues, the decision makers. So that's going to be critical of knowing what that is, and doing that in a way, picking your shots where it's something that really stands out from the crowd and it's repeatable. So if somebody cannot repeat your value, it probably doesn't land. If they cannot bring that forward, it won't travel well. So all things being considered, what are you uniquely qualified to do? That's the value brand or the proposition, the value themes that what really needs to be sharp on. And also to do yourself, because I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of executives, and in particular, I think about one global branding expert, and I asked him what his brand and value was. And after several seconds of silence, he laughed. He said, I get paid big bucks for figuring this out for companies, and I don't know what it is for myself. And that's not unusual because often we cannot see our own forest for the trees. That's probably why an attorney doesn't represent themselves, a doctor doesn't operate in themselves. You need somebody who could step back and take a fresh, clear, objective view of who you are and that unique value you bring, and then be able to articulate that in a compelling way. That's
Yes.
what it is. And that's what it isn't.
And hopefully, as you're listening and thinking through your own search and where you want to go next and how you'll get there, a couple of bright line ideas which tie into that 3% solution I mentioned earlier are becoming more evident to you. And it's the ideas of clarity and precision. Clarity about what you've got that makes you special and stating it with precision, but also targeting the roles with clarity and precision, right, Mark?
Yeah, that's key. And it's interesting. We use the word value, but those who've spent a career in business development know a value is not a value unless it's needed and wanted by the buyer. So you need to be thinking about the target you're going after. Again, the types of business problems you want to solve. What is it that they need? What could you help them, accomplish? And then picking and choosing then your points of value that align to that. Otherwise, it could just wind up being features, not necessarily aligned to the impact. And that's another angle to look at this for. That being real sharp on what is needed and what do you bring in a very unique way. That would have you stand out.